I'm going to bring in Charlie Gasparino with us here in New York on set. Morning to you. What are you watching today?
I'm watching what's coming out of the White House. I'm watching anything from any Fed governor about interest rates and the banking system. I'm not believing everything I hear from policymakers. Listen, I think the White House is spinning this idiotically in many cases, trying to blame a tweak in Dodd-Frank for excessive risk-taking that, bank examiners would have found anyway if they were looking, and they are looking at Silicon Valley Bank. So you got to watch what the White House says. The Fed is a little more reliable on information. And I would like to know if they're really going to pause here. I mean, 6% is better on the inflation rate, but it ain't great. It's horrible, as a matter of fact. That means inflation is sticky still. And if it's kind of interesting, if Jerome Powell turns around and says, okay, we got a potential banking crisis here. I'm not going to raise rates. I'm going to take a pause here. Guess what that means if you're in the market? It means the banking system is problematic.
Right.
Exactly the opposite of what Joe Biden just said. So, again, keep an eye on the Fed, keep an eye on the markets, and keep an eye on interest rates. And
it seems like we're riding a bit of an edge right now.
Just said the Wall Street Journal is saying today that the Biden's bank bailout whoppers, the president offers assurances that markets don't believe, and maybe you don't either. I'll just go on to quote them here. Investors may also see a White House whose first instinct, even in a financial panic, is to spin reality and hunt for political scapegoats. None of this will restore confidence, which is what's really needed in a panic. Do you think there's a lack of confidence in the system right now?
Yes. And, look at it this way. And I think that lack of confidence is based on good fact, though.
Okay.
We've never had the fiscal and monetary policy experiment that we went through in the last 3 years until recently. Biden administration, even when he didn't have to spend, the administration, Democrats control both houses so they can get stuff through. Joe Manchin should be ashamed of himself, kept spending when they didn't need to. We were coming out of the pandemic is the minute Joe Biden walked into office in 2021, and they still kept the gas, the pedal to the metal. Then on top of that, you got Jerome Powell, who kept saying transitory inflation, kept printing money. When you do both of those things, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have people with cash, tons of cash, with nowhere to put it, but in crazy investments. And that's essentially, when you boil it down, I mean, I could get into the intricacies of what Silicon Valley Bank did. I have sources that work there. I know exactly what their loan portfolio looked like and what was on their books. But when it came down to it, they took excessive risk because the government incentivized the excessive risk with low interest rates and printing money.
Big banks today looking to buy pieces of this bank, and maybe that goes through.
That's what they did with Lehman Brothers.
Where were they 3 days ago? You mentioned at the outset of your comments about blaming other people. Yesterday, Joe Biden came out, Dana and I were sitting here, and he blamed Donald Trump.
It was stupid.
Elizabeth Warren writes in the New York Times, Silicon Valley Bank is gone. We know who is responsible. Those bank failures were entirely avoidable if Congress and the Fed had done their jobs and kept strong banking regulations in place since 2018. SVB and Signature are gone, and now Washington must act quickly to prevent the next crisis. 17 Senate Democrats voted with Republicans in 2018. 33 House Democrats
to tweak the Dodd-Frank law. What they said is if you have assets of below, I think it was $200 billion, right? You are not considered a systemically important bank. So because we worry about the big banks, because those are the ones that blow up the whole economy, we want our bank examiners focus doing what's known as stress tests on those big banks, the JP Morgans. Does that mean that First Republic, does that mean that Signature, does that mean that Silicon Valley had no bank regulation? Absolutely not. By the way, if the Fed sees them taking risk, they have the option to do stress tests. Here's the question I have. Why didn't the Fed see the risk on the balance sheet that my sources told me? This was not a bank, by the way, that, gave loans to, Aunt Millie and, construction companies. It was extending very risky loans to venture capital firms. In exchange, the venture capital firms would put their deposits in SVB. Why didn't the Fed say, whoa, we're giving deposit insurance to a company that's a hedge fund. A bank that's a hedge fund.
Great question.
And I'm telling you, Elizabeth Warren, this is all posturing. They should have caught that. They should have caught that. But when it really comes down to it, if you're going to print this much money, which she's behind, you're going to distort reality in the markets and the plumbing of the markets. If it's not crypto with Sam Bankman-Fried and people reaching for yield, on air, essentially. It'll be housing will come down. It'll be all these things. Meme stocks. This is a symptom of that.
Thank you, Charlie. We'll see which way we go today. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Good
for
to see
coming
you.
on.
Thank you.